Kit Kats Can Read. Hello everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Katie and in today's video I'm going to be doing a sort of bookshelf tour on the bookcase behind me. So I've had a couple of people sort of request that I do a bookshelf tour, and I find them hard to do because a lot of my books are in storage down in my garage because I live in a flat. I can't have a lot of books here. So I've literally only got this 3 shelved bookshelf here. I have double stacked one of the shelves, but the other 2 are single. And then I've got my TBR cart, which pretty much has my TBR / new books in the front. And then also got currently reading over here, the books that I've started and I'm in the middle of. And then at the bottom of this I literally just have my notes of like readathons and all that, so there's no books in the actual like third one. Some people fill all of their TBR cart with every single book. Mine is more, I suppose, organised in the sense of I've got TBR currently reading that I've had to put down sort of thing, and then sort of like notes sort of thing. It's just the way that I store it and I'm happy with that. So in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you each and every book that is on this shelf, the middle shelf and the bottom shelf. First of all, you are going to be seeing the books that are from this bookshelf. So I have cleared shelf number 1, and on this shelf I have either side of the wrapped books. I have the books that I would like to read in the months of 2020. So I will very quickly go over those books as well of what I've got left on my 2020 TBR, and obviously I can't show you the wrapped books because they are wrapped up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 left here for the rest of the months of 2020 from April and beyond. So those are my wrapped books. So unfortunately I can't share those with you, but I will very quickly show you these books. So the first of which I have here is Confess by Colleen Hoover. This is one of her new adult books, and yeah, I've had this for quite a while actually. Next of all I have Untamed by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. This is actually the 4th book I believe in the, actually no, this is the, yes it is the 4th book that is in the House of Night series. Some people have read this. It's a very sort of, I suppose, cheesy and light vampire series, so this would actually be a reread for me because I've read a lot of the books in the series and I really enjoy them, so I'd like to reread this for 2020. Next of all I have the Archived and the Unbound here, both by Victoria Schwab. Now I have read the Archived near enough when it actually came out a few years ago, but I have never actually read the sequel, so I would like to reread the first book and then go on to reading the sequel in 2020. Next of all here I have Wither by Lauren DeStefano. This is one of the first books that I purchased on my booktube channel. It was on my first book haul and that is why it's here. I never got around to reading it, so I would like to in 2020. And then I've got The Broken Hearted by Amelia Cahaney. This book I have owned for a few years as well. I'm still really intrigued by it. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy this book, so I'm looking forward to this one. We've got another reread here, which is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, the first book that's in the Darkest Minds series. I have reread this probably about 3 times in total so far. I would like to reread it again because there's some elements of this that I need to remember, and then I want to watch the film, which I've recently got on DVD. And then I've got Girl Alive by Zoe Sugg. This will be another reread for me. I read this when it first came out, and I've got the other books that are in the series, but I haven't got around to reading them yet, unfortunately. So I would like to reread this first book fresh in my mind so that I can continue on with the series. So I have Beautiful Disaster by Jamie Maguire. Again, another book that I have owned for several years now and haven't read. This is a new adult book. I'm very intrigued by this actually, so I'm hoping that I do enjoy it this year. I have Assassin's Creed Renaissance by Oliver Bowden. This is the first book that's in the Assassin's Creed book series, and I love the games, I love the storyline behind the games, and I'm very upset that I haven't got around to reading it yet, so I'm hoping that I do enjoy this book. And then this is a book that I've had way before I started BookTube, so I've owned it for several years and I still haven't got around to reading it. So this is Size 12 Is Not Fat by Meg Cabot. It's the first book in one of her adult series. I believe it's a mystery, and yeah, I'm I just haven't got around to reading it, but I love Meg Cabot and I love her books, so I'm hoping that I do enjoy this one. I've then got 50 Shades Darker by E.L. James. I did start this book, I think, either last year or the year before. Unfortunately, I never continued on with it, but I remember kind of enjoying what I was reading. I think at the time I just had other books I had to read, like review books. So yeah, it's on my 2020 TBR and I would like to get it read. Then have Gemini by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the second book that's in the Illuminae Files series, and I read Illuminae a couple of times now. I listened to the audiobook the second time around. I read it physically the first time. I think I scored it exactly the same both times, 4 out of 5 Kit Kats I believe it was. So yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. Maybe I gave it 3 the second time, I'm not entirely sure, but I remember either 3 or 4 Kit Kats in the end. I'm not loving it as much as everybody else is, so I'm hoping Gemini is going to be my preferred sequel. I've then got Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han, the third book that is in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series. I recently reread the second book, so this will probably be on my agenda to read very, very soon. I've then got a chunker of a book, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This, I believe, is the third book that is in this series that is about these... Well, it's a fantasy book that's got fairies in it, and it's a twist... Well, a sort of twist on Beauty and the Beast. So I really enjoyed the first 2 books. I haven't dived into this yet just because of the size of it, but it's on my 2020 agenda. I've then got All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. This is one of her most recent releases, so that's why it's on my TBR. I have loved her other books that I've read by her, so I feel like I would love this too. She's got a way to grab you by the reins of your heart, and I hope that I do enjoy this one. And last but not least, we have Incarnate by Jodie Meadows, another book that I've owned for a few years that I haven't got around to reading, but it's got a beautiful cover. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, but I would like to get this book read in 2020. And that concludes my first shelf of the bookshelf. And now, my friends, we're going to move on to shelf number 2, which is this shelf here. This is a shelf actually books I would like to read. They're books that I've sort of like pulled out of my boxes that I was like, ooh, these would be really, really good to read. And also in this segment I'm going to include some books that I've got here in a basket of books that I would like to read at some point as well, fairly soon. So these are more of books that I'm just like, oh, I would really, really like to get these books read, but I will like slot them in whenever I really, really want to read them, or when I've really, really got the urge to read them. They're kind of like popular books sort of thing. I'm very, very excited to hopefully get around to reading some of these books. So the first book I'm going to share with you here is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nyan. A lot of people have been talking about this book, especially last year. Beautiful, beautiful cover. And yeah, I'm very, very intrigued by this one. And then we've got The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've been so intrigued by this book. It's a classic and yeah, really sort of circusy book. So I'm hopefully, maybe I could read this in April, because I'm participating in a show that is about Barnum and the circus, so maybe this will be perfect time to read it, because it'll be the month when I perform the show. So I'm very, very excited to hopefully give this a try. And then I've got The Sky is Everywhere by Yandi Nelson. This is a book that I did kind of start last year, but I never continued on with it, and so I'll be starting it from the beginning. I've got Losing It by Cora Carmack. This is the first book in Cora Carmack's series, which is New Adult. Then got Looking for Alaska by John Green, the cover of the TV show. I watched the TV show. I absolutely loved the TV show, so I went and bought the book, because the first time around that I had this book, I DNF'd it halfway through. I've then got The Next Together by Lauren James. I have lost count of how many times I've been meaning to read this book, but it's a time travel romance and I feel like I would definitely enjoy it. I have The Impossible Knife of Memory by Laurie Halse Anderson. I have owned this book for years and I still haven't got around to reading it, and I'm really actually kind of intrigued. I've then got Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas, the third book that's in the Throne of Glass series. I started this a couple of years ago. It's such a beast of a book. I just haven't continued on with the series yet. I loved the first 2 books, so hopefully maybe I'll find a month where I can get this read. I've then got Amy and Matthew by Cami McGovern. I believe it's called Say What You Will in America, and I've been told that it's a very, very good representation of anxiety and depression, and it's a really good contemporary, so hopefully I can read this year. And yeah, it's definitely intriguing. Then got The Wonder of Us by Kim Culbertson. I received this review I think last year. There's a quote on it from Jennifer Niven, actually, one of my favourite authors, and it's like a sort of summary romance book, summary contemporary. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it, and there's a lot of travelling in it to Berlin, so hopefully I can get around to reading this sometime this year. I've then got My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brodie Ashton and Jodie Meadows. I'm told this is so funny and hilarious, and I really, really am so intrigued to give this a read. But I've Lost My Way by Gail Forman. I'm really intrigued about this one, actually, this contemporary. And this is a Waterstones exclusive, which contains an extra chapter, so I'm also intrigued by that as well. So hopefully I can get around to reading this year. I've also got Roomies by Salazar and Tara Altebrando. I've owned this for several years, and I'm actually quite intrigued by this because it's about 2 girls who share one dormitory, and yeah, I'm just really sort of intrigued by that sort of thing. We've then got This Beast, City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. This is the next book that is in the Mortal Instruments series that I'm currently rereading. This is book number 6. It's so heavy, I'm gonna have to put it down, I'm so sorry, it's so heavy. But yeah, I'm currently rereading the series, and I look forward to continuing and then reading City of Heavenly Fire. I've then got The Beautiful by Renée Ahdieh. This was a recent purchase of mine near the end of last year, and I'm so intrigued by it because it's New Orleans, vampires, and it's just everything. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, the first book that is in this young adult series that's sci-fi. I'm so intrigued by it. I heard massive things about it last year. A lot of people were loving it, so I'm super intrigued to read it. I've then got When the Curtain Falls by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I'm so intrigued about this because it's got a show that's in it, and I do my shows, so I'm really, really intrigued to read this one. Got Panic by Lauren Oliver. I've owned this for years now, and I really, really need to get it read. I have got In Some Other Life by Jessica Brody. Really, really want to read this. I love Jessica Brody so much. She's one of my favourite authors. I've got Made You Up by Francesca Zappia. This is one of her early releases. I've read one of her other books, Eliza and Her Monsters. Loved it, so hopefully I enjoy this one too. I've then got To Be Honest by Maggie Ann Martin. Really want to read this because it's got fat representation in it. I've got If There's No Tomorrow by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I still haven't got around to reading this yet. I love Jennifer L. Armentrout, so hopefully I can get around to reading it this year. I have Save the Date by Morgan Matson here. I really, really want to read this book. I've got a real big urge to read it, so I feel like it's going to happen in 2020. I've also got The Geography of Lost Things by Jessica Brody. I've heard really, really good things about this book, and I'm so super intrigued. Also, I've put my volume of Ocarina of Time, The Legend of Zelda. It's a legendary edition, and it's a graphic novel of Ocarina of Time. I'm so super intrigued by this, and that's why it is on my 2020 shelf. I then got Glitch by Heather Anastasio. I have owned this for so many years now, still haven't got around to reading it. I am super intrigued by this though, so hopefully I can get around to reading it. I've then got Gumi Ho, Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I'm so super intrigued by this, and I feel like I'm going to love this book. This is probably going to be a fairly recent read of mine because I've got quite the urge to read this book at the moment. Then got Colleen Hoover's most recent release, which is Regretting You, and I'm hoping to get around to reading this year. I, like I say, love Colleen Hoover's books, and I feel like I'm going to enjoy this one too. I've then got We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal, and this I'm so super intrigued about. It seems like a really, really cool fantasy. I love the cover to this too, so hopefully I can get around to reading this in 2020. I've then got The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a massively loved book on BookTube. People are reading it all the time, whether it was a couple of years ago, last year, or even this year. I really have an urge to read this, so it probably won't be long before I read this too. I then got Aristotle and Dante, Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sayens. This is an LGBT book that I've had on my TBR for a few years. I still haven't got around to reading it, but I've heard so many good things about it, so I'm hoping that I do read it very soon. I've got Viral Nation by Shonda Grimes here. I started this last year, but I didn't get very far into it. Unfortunately, I had other books I wanted to read, but I really was enjoying what I was reading, so that's why I put it on the shelf, so hopefully I can pick it up in 2020. I've got Dorothy Must Die by Daniel Page, another book that I've owned for a few years. So intrigued by this twist on The Wizard of Oz. Hopefully I can read it soon. I've got The Winner's Curse by Marie Rutkowski. Haven't really heard a lot of people talk about this book lately, but I'm so super intrigued about this. Then got Dune by Carrie Corbin, Laurie Langdon, and this is a book that's very loved by Sasha Osberg here on BookTube, so I'm hoping that I can get around to reading it soon to see exactly why she loves it. I've then got another graphic novel here. This is called The Golden Sheep, volume number 1 by Kari Urizaki. It's right here. My friend Charlie gave it to me, and I feel like it's going to be a really awesome read, so hopefully I can get around to reading it very soon. She said that I should love it, so hopefully I do. Final book that's on the shelf is American Royals by Katharine McGee. I did start this book last year, but I got I feel like a quarter through it, and I feel like I wasn't taking it in as much as I wanted to. I was kind of slumping, so I put it down and I put it on the shelf because I would like to start fresh with it and then get into it, but I was really enjoying it, so I'm hopefully looking forward to reading it even more. This is as if America had royalty, so like if America had a queen and princesses and all that, so it's really cool, and they call themselves the Washingtons, and it's just like, oh yeah, so it's really good, and I'm hoping to start it again this year. That concludes the shelf that is here, and I'll put these books back, and then I will share with you the books that I've got in the crate that's next to it, which pretty much is a continuation of the shelf of books that I've gone into my garage, and I've been like, oh, I really want to read those. Now I'm going to go on to the books that are in the crate next to the bookshelf. So here I've got my reread of Shatter Me by Tara Murphy. I've got a real urge to reread this lately to hopefully continue on with the series, so hopefully I will be reading it at some point in 2020. I've then got Vox by Christina Doucher. This is a most recent purchase of mine. I really am so intrigued by this book. Got The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory, another recent purchase of mine. Got Meet Cute by Helena Hunting, also a recent purchase of mine. I've got Once and Future here by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy. This is a book that I was hoping to read beginning of this year, and I haven't got around to reading it yet. I've then got Nina Won't Tell, which is the third book that is in the Making Out series by Catherine Applegate. This will be a reread for me. I got to book 8, I believe, in this series, so I'm rereading this series slowly. It probably will be a guilty pleasure read soon because they are short and they are packed full of drama and everything that you need, and yeah, I really love this series. Then got Are We Near There Yet by Lucy Vine, a fairly new release purchase of mine. I've got Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, The Trials of Morrigan Crow, book number 1. I've heard really good things about this, so that's why this is here. Got The Forbidden Wish by Jessica Corey. This is kind of like an Aladdin retelling, or similar to Aladdin, so I'm really intrigued by this book. I then got Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. I was hoping to read this in January, haven't got around to reading it yet. I've heard really good things about this book, so I'm hoping that I do enjoy it. I got Maybe This Time by Casey West. This will probably be a read of mine very soon because it's one of her latest releases. But City of Ghost by Victoria Schwab, her first book in her middle grade series, is probably something that I'll end up reading because it seems to be very easy to read. Got The Madman's Daughter by Megan Shepherd. This is the first book that's in this series, and I've owned this book for years. I still haven't got around to reading it, so I'm hoping to get to it soon. Got Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is one of her, I believe it's kind of like a thriller. So yeah, I haven't read any of her thrillers yet, and I don't really know a lot about it. I've just had it for a long time. I haven't really heard anybody talk about it. I then got some other books by Casey West, which I've pulled out of my boxes, And so I've literally pulled all the Casey West books that I had downstairs because I need to read all the books because I love them. So I've got Love, Life and The List by Casey West, P.S. I Like You by Casey West, Lucky in Love by Casey West, and By Your Side by Casey West. I've then got The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, the first book that's in the Raven Boys cycle, and yeah, I'm so intrigued to read this though, so I'll probably read this very soon. The Kissed Cruciate by Helen Hoang, which is an adult romance. I have Poison Study by Mary V. Schneider, the first book that is in the Chronicles of Ixia series. I've heard really good things about this series, so I would like to hopefully read this soon. I then have Dramas of a Teenage Heiress by Katie Birchall, the sequel to Secrets of a Teenage Heiress, which I loved so much. I have A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kammerer, the sequel to A Curse So Dark and Early, which I really enjoyed. And got book number 8 in the Animal series, Piglet in a Playpen by Lucy Daniels. Every time I reread one of these children's books, I put another one from the garage up here so that I can read the next one in line. These are guilty children's pleasures. I've recently read book number 7, loved it so much, so I probably will end up reading another one if I'm feeling very slumpish. I've got The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Got an urge to read this because it was on a lot of people's top books last year. Then got Killing Sarai by J.A. Ramersky. I love J.A. Ramersky so much. The Edge of Never is one of my favourite books. This is a different sort of story. It's the first book in the Company Killer series. I am so intrigued to read this. The cover is just like, oh, it's just bringing me in. So I'm looking forward to giving this one a read. I then got Starry Eyes by Jen Bennett. Got a massive urge to read this book. This contemporary, I've heard really good things about it. Then got Blood Promise by Rochelle Mead. This is the 4th book that is in the Vampire Academy series. Probably going to be a fairly recent read of mine because it will be a reread. And these are the guilty pleasure sort of books. I've read them before and loved them, so I feel like if I was in a slumpish mood, reading this would just help me get out of it. I've then got Truly Devious by Maureen Johnston. This was on a lot of people's top books of last year. I'm very intrigued by this. I have Talon by Julie Kagawa. I'm so intrigued by this. I love the cover to it. I am loving the dragon sort of theme of it, and I love Julie Kagawa, like her Mortal Wool series. I really love it. So yeah, I'm hoping I can read this soon. I've then got A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I hear so many things about this, so I would like to get this read at some point. Finally here I have Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. I have a big urge to read this because of Dark Dawn. I have all the books that are in the series in hardback. I would like to get them read, and I'm super intrigued, and I've no idea what I'm going to think of the series, so I'm hoping that I do like it because I've got all the books. Those are the books that are in this blue plastic crate that I have sitting on my beanbag chair, which sits next to my bookshelf. And like I say, those are books that I just pull out of my garage. If I ever go in my garage and I've got a massive urge to read books, then I will put them in that blue crate. Finally, with the bookshelf, I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I've got on the bottom shelf. These are books that are from TBR videos or book haul videos, or even books that I have owned before BookTube that are on the oldest of my TBR. So I have filmed several reaction videos which I'm slowly going through and uploading of my reactions to these book hauls and to these TBRs, and these books are on there. Like I say, there are books here also before BookTube. If I've got some up here, then I will be mentioning them to you and holding up and being like, yeah, this I had before BookTube. So I will inform you of the ones I've had even the longest. These are the most embarrassing ones on my TBR, but let's be honest, we've all got books that we have had for a few years on our TBRs. So it's just the way that it goes. First of all, I've got Marley and Me by John Grogan. This I remember buying in a charity shop. It's the book to the movie of Marley and Me, and yeah, I was hoping to get around to reading it last month, but I still haven't, so that's why it's on this shelf. I then got Die For Me by Amy Plum, the first book that's in this series. I actually own all three, haven't got around to reading any of them though. I have read a book by Amy Plum before though, and I did really enjoy it, so I'm hoping that I do enjoy this one too. And got This Summoning by Kelly Armstrong. This is the first book that is in Kelly Armstrong's series. I have got quite an urge to read this actually. It's a paranormal sort of book, and you'll probably find very similar themed books on my TBR of paranormals, because I went through a paranormal phase. I went through paranormal, and I say contemporary phase. I'm always in a contemporary phase though, but definitely paranormal. I've got Struck by Jennifer Bosworth. I have owned this for so many years, but this was a advanced copy that I was actually given. So yeah, I just unfortunately haven't got around to reading it, but it is the sort of book that I would read. So I'm really intrigued by it still, and hopefully I can get around to reading it. Got Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Loni Taylor. This cover, which isn't even like published anymore, but I really love this cover. I love these feathers, and it's all metallic and it's beautiful. I did start this last year, and I wanted to be part of the buddy read. I can kind of sort of remember it, but I've kind of forgotten, so that's why it's here. I'm going to start it fresh, and yeah, I was kind of enjoying what I was reading actually, so hopefully I do get around to reading it soon. I have got The Farm by Emily Mackay. This I believe is a vampire sort of book, so again, paranormal theme. I've owned this for a few years now, and yeah, I'm very intrigued by it. I've got a copy of When It Happens by Susan Colasanti here. I've owned this for a few years. I believe I found this in a second-hand bookshop. I'm really happy that I managed to find it. It is an American edition as well, which is really cool. So yeah, unfortunately I just still haven't got around to reading it yet. I've got the Shadowhunters Codex by Cassandra Clare and Joshua Lewis. I haven't got around to reading this unfortunately, but I picked it up down here because I am currently rereading the series, so it hopefully will be something that I will read soon. And got a manuscript of Rolling Dice by Beth Recalls, the author of The Kissing Booth. How embarrassing is it that I have this and I still haven't read this manuscript? It's an actual bound manuscript. Like, you would never get this. This is literally before the arc. Like, oh my goodness, just I'm so ashamed. I'm actually so ashamed that I probably will end up reading it very soon, because I'm really embarrassing to share this with you and admit it to you, and oh my goodness, this was the start of my booktube journey. I'm so embarrassed. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I have Vortex here by Julie Cross. I would like to reread the first book though, called Tempest, before reading this, because I don't remember anything that happened in the first book, and this is a sequel to it. Allegiant by Veronica Roth. I got spoiled unfortunately on what happened in this book, which is why I've been put off reading it. I know what happens and I am so, I don't know how I feel about it. I started reading it when it first came out and then I got spoiled, so I've been putting it off ever since, but yeah, I've got to read it very soon. Black City by Elizabeth Richards. I've owned this for so many years. I have forgotten what the actual book is about, but yeah, I need to read it. Splintered by A.G. Howard. This I believe is kind of like an Alice in Wonderland retelling. I love the covers to these books. I think they are gorgeous, but I've owned this for so many years and I still haven't got around to reading it. I've got Wasteland by Susan Kim and Lawrence Clavan. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy this book though. It's kind of, I think it's like a dystopian sort of book, and yeah, I haven't had anybody talk about it, but I'm really intrigued, but unfortunately I just haven't got around to reading it. Blitz Second by Sophie Mackenzie. This I got, I think, near enough the start of my booktube journey. I can't remember if I did read this actually. I don't know if this is a reread or like I literally just, you know, I can't remember. So I remember reading a book by Sophie Mackenzie though and really enjoying it. I've read other books by her, so yeah, I'm still intrigued by it though. I've got Mind Games by Kirsten White. This is like one of her first ever books. I haven't got around to reading it. It's kind of sci-fi, I believe. Yeah, I need to. Book Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare, the third book that is in the Further Devices series. I've only just noticed that on the front of this it says Collector's First Edition. I've never noticed that before, and all the years that I've owned this How have I not noticed that? Anyway, I've read the first 2 books in this trilogy. I'm reading them in publication order because apparently that's the way that they make sense. So I'm currently on the Mortal Instruments book number 5, and then I'll be going on to this, and then I'll be going on to book number 6 in the Mortal Instruments. So I'm slowly going through. I love all of Cassandra Clare's books. I love her writing style. I love her stories. So yeah, I am really, really enjoying it. But this will be on my 2020 TBR for sure. I've got Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood. This is the first book that's in the Cahill Witch Chronicles. It's a witchy book, again, another paranormal book. But I've owned it for so many years and I need to get around to reading it. Leader of the Pack by Kate Can. This is the first book that I'm sharing with you that I've owned before BookTube. So it's a contemporary. Unfortunately I haven't got around to reading it and I feel really bad, but it's a contemporary and I do like reading my old school books, so yeah, hopefully I'll read it soon. The book that I've owned before BookTube, Unholy Ghosts by Stacia Kane. Again, another paranormal book. Like I say, I went for a phase of paranormal books. This is book 1 in the Downside Ghosts. I haven't heard anybody talk about this, so yeah. I still want to read it though. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is the big volume number 1, which contains 3 books: Coyote Moon, Night of the Living Rerun, and Portal Through Time. There are like a couple of other volumes as well. There's a volume 2, and this is about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So yeah, I haven't read it, but yeah, I love Buffy, so hopefully I do enjoy it when I get around to it. And I've got Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which also has a little segment in it by Meg Cabot of why you should read this book. And I've owned this for years. I still haven't got around to reading it. Unfortunately, I do want to read Pride and Prejudice, I just haven't got around to reading it. Burning Instant by Ilsa J. Bick, one of the first books that I purchased on BookTube. I know this book is about falling for a teacher. And yeah, like forbidden romance is like one of my go-tos. So I'm hoping that I'll read this soon, like whenever I've got the urge for it. I've then got Between the Lines by Tamara Webber. I have read Easy by this author and loved it. So this first book that's in another one of her series, it's new adult. I'm really intrigued about this one. I've got Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rose, the first book that is in this series. This is apparently for fans of Game of Thrones. It's like the young adult version, apparently. There's lots of books that are in this series. And yeah, I got this very beginning of BookTube as well. Cool, right, it's so embarrassing like how many years I've had some of these books for. Perfect Chemistry by Simone Oakleys. This is I think it's a new adult actually, this one. And yeah, I've owned it for so many years, still haven't got around to reading it, unfortunately. And yeah, it's just unfortunate. I know it's the first book that's in a series, but I am really intrigued to read it though. Shift by Anne Bailey, another book that I've owned for a few years, near the beginning of my BookTube journey. But I remember being really excited about this book though. Six City by Thea Lawrence, a gorgeous, gorgeous cover to this book. I don't really know what this book is about anymore. I've owned this for so long. So yeah, I'm still intrigued by it though. Like, I remember it being like pretty big at the time. 172 Hours on the Moon by Johan Harstad. So this book, I'm told it's got like a spooky sort of element. Apparently there's a part of this book that's like, whoa, super spooky. I've owned this for so many years. It was literally on like one of the first book hauls of my channel. And I was so intrigued by it. And I still am. I know it's a sci-fi sort of book. Then we have Night School by C.J. Dougherty. This is the first book that's in this Vampire School series. I really, really want to read this actually because I'm getting Vampire Academy sort of vibes from it. And yeah, I really, really want to read it. I really want to give it a read soon. Then we got Girl Missing by Sophie Mackenzie. I just read a book by Sophie Mackenzie and I was just like, whoa, this book was awesome. And then I just bought books by Sophie Mackenzie, but I haven't got around to reading it. And I know it's kind of like, it's like a thriller because a girl goes missing. Then I've got An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. A John Green book that I haven't read. This one I remember is signed right here. I remember buying it, and yeah, I know not a lot of people are fans of this book, but I'm still intrigued by it. Then I've got Level 2 by Lenore Applehands. I think they changed the title to this, called something like The Memory of After. I can't really remember what they called it, but it's a sci-fi book and I was really intrigued to get this one. Then I have My Soul to Take by Rachel Vincent. I got a lot of these books from The Works. They were selling them cheap as part of the 3 for £5 deal. So this is the first book that's in the series, and they are vampire books again. So yeah, another sort of like paranormal phase I went through. But yeah, I still really want to read them because I love vampire books. And the last book that I have here from the shelf is The Iron King by Julie Kagawa, the first book that's in this series. And this is her Iron Fae series by Julie Kagawa. Like I say, really like her. And yeah, her Fae books. Let's see if she is the queen of Fae. So that concludes the third shelf of my bookshelf. And end of this video actually, like, I think I'm going to do my TBR cart in another video of the books that I'm currently reading, as well as the like books that are on my TBR, and yeah, like an overview of my TBR and the books that I'm currently in the middle of reading, sort of thing. So I'll do that in a very separate video. But this is the bookshelf tour for my actual bookshelf slash the crate that's next to my bookshelf, of like shelves 1, 2 and 3, and like I say, the crate. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books, or if you'd like to read any of these books, or if you'd like to buddy read any of these books with me, then let me know and we can arrange it. But yeah, it's been fun to share these books with you guys, and yeah, it's nice to get them all out because I get to see and remind myself of what books are on the shelf. So yeah, and now there's so many books, so I'm just like, oh, I really want to read them now. And I've literally just filmed my Friday reads. So it's always the way, having a play with the books, just it can bring out all these sort of like opportunities. So many books, so little time is literally the theme of my life, but I am really enjoying like books and just reading all over again. So yeah, I'm struggling to find time to stick to an actual TBR, because there's just so many books I want to read, and I keep straying from my TBR because there's just so many books. So that is the end of my bookshelf tour. Thank you very much for watching. All of my social media links are linked down below if you would like to follow me elsewhere. But that's it from me, guys. Keep smiling, keep reading and be happy. My name is Katie and I will see all of you wonderful awesome people in my next video.